Przemek from BitBay. BitBay Exchange, European Exchange. Our second guest. Marija from Guarda Wallet. Our third panelist, Dejan, CEO of ELIGMA. And our final panelist, just recently swatched, is Douglas of BiboxEurope, jumping in for IOP. So, welcome everybody to this panel. The topic we're going to be discussing today is nothing cryptic about crypto, when will banks be adopting cryptocurrencies? I would like to start with this topic by picking it apart a little bit, analyzing it a little bit, so we got an idea of where we're going to go, whether we don't get lost just in a random discussion about anything. So let's dig right into the question. The question is, when will banks be adopting cryptocurrencies? I think there are two key aspects that we need to clarify first, dive in, which is first the adoption part. What adoption are we talking about? Are we saying this is going to be a broad adoption, the kind of adoption that the crypto community imagines to take place? Or are we talking about a narrow adoption, which is, well, kind of the question, is it more an evolution of finance or is it an actual revolution? I think generally in this environment it makes sense to address the actual broad adoption of cryptocurrencies, the way that the crypto community imagines it to be, because the alternatives are really not too relevant for the candidates here. That's what we're all about. We want to foster the mass adoption. That's what we all stand for. The second part now is, on the other hand though, if you want to address alternative scenarios where you say, hey, I'm not even certain there's going to be a mass adoption after all, feel free to dive into that as well.
Hey.
On the other hand, we have the when. What does the when mean? We can't really pin it down. We can't pick a point in time and say this is exactly when the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies happened. We can only, in retrospect, say, oh, actually, back then we realized that was a tipping point. So, why don't we start with jumping right in. Dejan, I would like to address the first question to you. We can't pin down the when. So, let's start with what's happening right now. What do you see? What actions or processes or banks are you witnessing as an industry insider on this path to the adoption of cryptocurrencies by banks?
Right, so I see that they are probably now in the phase of getting all the data and understanding how really everything works. So what we in the community are trying to achieve is educate them, give them as many information as possible so they understand it's not about to have it actually, to go towards crypto or blockchain or whatsoever. So I think we're now in the phase that they're slowly trying to be part of this. They don't want to miss out. But there are different layers of adoption when it comes to the bank. But definitely I think people in specific countries will push forward the adoption. So where the need is for crypto bigger than in other countries, probably these countries will have crypto before others. But in general, it's a long process, and we need to understand it's like the dinosaur walking, and you want to put him on a different track. So we need to understand it's going to take a while, and they also we need to understand they need to see a beneficial thing for them as well. So I think we need to push governments first, and then governments can influence the banks whatsoever.
All right. So the general would say. There's definitely some action from the crypto community that we should see, but generally this process seems to be already taking place. All right, maybe does somebody else here have maybe some experience he wants to share when it comes to banks, how you approach them, what you see, and how you may have already interacted with them when it comes to this. Maybe you, Przemek?
Yeah, sure.
Want to contribute?
We have like 6 years of experience dealing with banks.
Yes.
As a crypto exchange to crypto to fiat mainly, we are dealing with fiats all the time. So what we found a lot of difficulties to work with them. So there are basically two reasons: that they don't have a clear regulation themselves, so they cannot really serve us as a client. So what we would love to see is the general regulation all over the world as we work globally. that the rules apply to most of the countries, so we can service the clients directly to let them deposit and withdrawals with their own currencies, not only the majors, also the minors. Now it's a hell of a lot better than before, so this is a good thing.
Okay.
But it's purely seeing that we make some progress, but still we need to wait probably, I'd say, a year, 2, 3. I wouldn't be too optimistic, as a year ago we had a similar discussion here on the stage, and we were very optimistic.
Yes.
In 2018, that it's gonna be just here, another few months and we're gonna be great. There are still countries where there are very few where the regulation is, that we can follow the regulator, and there are very few banks who can actually service us. So until this change will happen, we still need to kind of play around, try to find the best way for clients to take advantage of the cryptocurrencies. It's not only changing crypto to crypto, holding that for the purpose of getting rich somewhere there in the future, but let's get people use it on a daily basis to do the payments, to pay for things, for goods, and then exchange it as well. Once we do that, then it should be straightforward, because banks will also see that the flow of money, it's getting bigger and bigger, so there is a chance to make some profit for them, and this is the only thing that will force them to move towards the crypto community and us, basically. So another thing is that we see the adoption that they do inside of the banks. So they take advantage of the blockchain in general, but what they're supposed to do for us in reverse is to serve us as clients. So I see kind of disproportion at the moment, that they take the advantage of what we love, and we cannot use their services that they're supposed to give to us. So this needs to be changed.
All right. So
unless we have a revolution instead of evolution.
I see. All right. So what you're essentially saying is the banks are trying to get in here. They're approaching this because they realize otherwise they will be missing out. You think generally there should be some get together, there should be mutual support, but at the same time you should still be aware of like the potential implication of that, either if you go into evolutionary or revolutionary way. Okay, I would like to ask the same question to you, Kulas, because you're representing BiboxEurope, also an exchange. What is your past relationship with banks, with regulators been? Did you feel like they tried really to approach the mass adoption of cryptocurrencies reasonably? And did you interact with them on high side? And was it a positive relationship?
Yeah, I mean, for me, from my perspective, it seems like it's important to almost differentiate or delineate on whether you have traditional banks or even disruptive banks. I think, especially in the European market, I think maybe everyone here has already seen that there's a huge rise in disruptive banks, and they almost need to get ahead in some sort of competitive advantage. So we see a lot of them doing some kind of in-house crypto exchange as well, which is amazing for us in terms of the crypto community, great for adoption as well. I also believe on both sides it's important to take note that we should be wary on both sides, whether it's the crypto side looking to learn from a more mature, more regulated industry, or even for bankers also to work with the crypto space as well, to learn from each other. And I think the past few days has been absolutely fantastic at the Delta team. The Delta Summit 2019 has been absolutely incredible, fantastic. So exactly these kind of events, these sorts of agglomeration economics are really great in terms of I've seen some huge institutions here as well myself, as well as some exchanges, so if everyone comes together, talks, discusses as well, I think that's a great first step.
All right, so your approach definitely is more collaboration than competition.
Yeah.
Even when it comes to this relationship between crypto and the banks.
Exactly.
All right, interesting. Maybe from the perspective of Guarda Wallet now, if you can speak for the whole company, what is your take on this? We have the banks who are, in the cases of exchanges, for example, or in our own case as a crypto payment provider, there's a lot of touch points here where we just get in touch with banks, also with regulators all the time. Well, as a wallet, you could technically say we're just going to avoid this completely. We're trying to completely get it around banks, get around fiat, and create our own closed ecosystem, never with the external fiat component.
Well, I would like to say probably two things. That first of all, I don't consider it some kind of a competition, like banks versus wallets, massive war, everybody hates each other. Definitely not like this. It's more of general point of adoption, and it's more of a thing that wallets right now, like developed cryptocurrency wallets, can probably actually offer more than traditional bank systems. They work in the places where banks don't. They work in the ways that banks don't. They work with more currencies. This is kind of more handy. But when we talk about cryptocurrency adoption, all of you mentioned the fact that traditional banks are working with crypto and they're starting this process. So this when, from the topic of our conversation, is already happening right now. But on the other hand, the main name of our panel is Nothing Cryptic About Crypto, which kind of implies that cryptocurrency is still something a little bit in the shadows, and it's still something that didn't get out there enough, and it's still something like kind of strange and not understandable, not regulated at some point. And so from the point of a person working for a cryptocurrency wallet that basically allows people have their own bank and any device that they want to, I see it more not from the point of like making a service to suit everybody, collaborate with the banks and making some kind of like a mega crypto fiat enterprise, but from the point of banks and wallets working together probably on sharing experiences and kind of working together to get this cryptic out, because as long as we consider cryptocurrency something not understood very well, like wallet developers and people working in cryptocurrency wallets obviously understand cryptocurrency more than probably people working in banks right now. This is, hence you have problems, it takes forever, it's a process that is not regulated very well, it's kind of like very messy at times, and this could be by collaborating with wallets, with collaborating with exchanges, with you guys all, this can be kind of pinned down to some points that need to be just eliminated and kind of got over. So probably it's a kind of consulting thing. This is not actually creating some kind of like very big service. So from the point of cryptocurrency adoption in general, I believe that it's going really well. The fact that we talk about it so much and that it's kind of everywhere in different forms of information, verified, not verified, this is already kind of totally different topic, deserving its own panel or a keynote, but the spreading of information, the fact that the governments are in some places quite welcoming towards actually doing some kind of steps. The institutions like banks are considering doing something. There are several cases, like today I was reading about Revolut right before this panel, the fact that they're working with cryptocurrency, this is kind of hype-ish. Yeah. Like, oh, crypto is fashionable right now, so we're gonna do that. But also it's pretty remarkable when you have something big, institutionalized, and supposedly stable, and you're starting to get crypto world out there. I think that cryptocurrency communities are actually quite into it as well. Everybody wants to eliminate the cryptic thing.
Yeah. All right, so like the essence I get out of this, and you just addressed this point as well, we're literally having this conversation right now. On this panel, the topic is directly entangled, crypto, banks, how do we get together, or how will they get together? At the same time, it seems like the general vibe here is fundamentally, we're absolutely open to collaborate, to make our vision come true. Now, which is kind of surprising to me, I think, to find this kind of attitude being like the main attitude on a stage. Therefore, I would like to ask you, Lijan, what's your take on this? And maybe, did your personal opinion and attitudes toward this change? Did you maybe, initially when you entered the crypto space, Did you, back then, did you think, all right, crypto and bank is never going to get together, and I'm not going to help to foster that, I'm going to help to prevent it? Or were you somebody who, for example, from the beginning said, no, this is never going to be a pure revolution that we can like initialize and completely conduct on our own? Should we maybe move towards those banks and try to get together? What's your take on this?
We talked about this before, right? So, I don't know, I just think that on the long term, there are just two options, they adopt it or not. If they don't adopt it, it's actually a good thing. We will have to push it as people forward down into these decentralized systems, and that was actually the whole vision about crypto, right? If they adopt it, the adoption is going to be then faster, because the main, the main thing will be when people will start accepting crypto as a monthly salary.
Yeah.
So when you get a salary in crypto, I think many things will start to change. So there are just two things, yes or no. If no, it's going to happen anyway. If yes, it's going to happen faster. So that's my opinion, but I could be wrong. What do you think, guys?
All right, that's interesting. And you're saying if we don't get together, crypto is going to take over eventually, and you would be willing to collaborate, but you're not going to move towards it. You would respond to whatever they have to offer. All right then. So this really interests me though. I wonder, in your company as Guarda Wallet, it's not the youngest project. So did the attitude within your company towards this topic, did it shift? Did you ever at some point try to approach any kind of banks or make any partnerships happen that would eventually foster this mass adoption, but also by including the banks?
We're kind of going from the other way. I would say we're just working on the adoption and on cryptocurrency kind of understanding in general, and I believe that going to the banks and saying like, guys, we're here, and if you really want us, we can kind of explain everything to you, at least as far as we can. This is kind of like a short way, but actually working on the overall image. I actually wanted to mention it before you asked, but it's our job to not only work with the institutions, but work with the whole picture. Because institutions are just a part of it. Like, there are people with very different opinions, there are people with very different stands, people living in different countries with different laws. But the whole picture needs to be organized, it needs to be kind of put together, and our part in that is be humble, be welcoming, and give enough information, make a good service, and be there for people who are in need of more information, more help, more consultancy, more kind of openness to this world. And I believe that we're doing a pretty good job of that.
Okay.
We don't stop there. I don't know what's going to be next, honestly.
Yeah.
This is like, I cannot predict that.
Yeah, fair enough then. So yeah, the general attitude seems to be that we're like generally the cryptocurrency community, including us, is generally open to approach this. Now I think if we look at if we view it from the other side, from the perspective of the banks, what do we have to see there? If we want to try to get back to this win, we'd say from the bank's perspective, not collaborating but just doing something, it's almost impossible to find a major bank in this world at this moment who isn't somewhat involved in a blockchain project or has their own blockchain sub-department already. So there's a lot of happening. You could probably name any bank right now and you would find something there. We already have, for example, the Marshall Islands. The Marshall Islands are, in the Pacific, a tiny group of thousands of islands. And what they decided to do is release their own national cryptocurrency. And obviously here are banks involved as well. So that's already happening. And at the same time, we see the crypto community is open, the banks are open and approaching. At the same time, there's collaborations already. For example, in our case, Salamantex, we are an Austrian payment provider. We partnered up just recently with a German bank in order to enable the cryptocurrency payments there. So I think literally we can conclude from all sides there's willingness to to make something happen, to have some, to make some progress, and see whether it's going to be evolutionary or revolutionary. Cool. So I think pretty much then our approach to this is very aligned. The adoption of cryptocurrencies is happening already. We're all trying to make this possible, and well, when is it going to happen? Let's say, looking back, it's probably already happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being on the panel tonight.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, Marija.
Thank you.
Thank you.